Welcome, future masters. Let me show you this position of this middle game from a game that I was playing. So it was my turn. I played knight d6, always a tremendous move to put that knight on the 6th rank. So he counters it with knight e4, a great idea. And as much as I hated to do it, I took it. But that's okay. We used the stepping stone. Now I can play knight b5 and knight d6 once again. But the thing that's happening here is if you look at this position, that would certainly be a very solid positional idea. Just play the safe move, knight b5, knight d6, and you're in great shape. But he can play stuff like rook out of the way, bishop f8, and then bishop can chop my knight. So it's not a big deal. But if you look at it right now, there's a kingside attack going on. With every white piece is barreling down the kingside. Black has his two rooks that literally do nothing. Now, clearly the a8 rook is absolutely a bystander. So in this position, I realized I don't need to play this knight d6 idea. I already have a devastating position. So I just played h4. Now he's got a problem. And the problem is that I'm going to barrel through with h5, not g5, because his knight could come to f5 and try to shore up his defenses by trading that knight off for one of my attackers. He probably should have played, as you can see, the bar is nasty on the left-hand side. The bar is, up to clearing into the bottom of a8. I don't think this is the right move, but I think he's in bad shape. He is already in bad shape, as you can tell. Now, this bar doesn't exist during the game. That would be cheating. This is just standard chess. So he goes knight f7. I go, well, it doesn't stop h5. And the problem he has with h5 is that I'm going to can opener this. Every move he plays is terrible. g5 might be the least terrible move he's got, but so unnatural to play it. g5, g5 just loses the bishop right off the bat doesn't lose the bishop. h6, he can play bishop takes, knight takes, and bishop takes, rook takes, and knight would take. So I can't do that. I can't push h6 immediately. g5, oh yeah, it would lose a bishop. g5, f takes g. No, the bishop could take. That might be his best move, actually. He did not play the best move. He played king to g8. g5 is a very unnatural move to play. And only a strong player is going to see the idea of g5. But here it's just what gets him here is that the clogged nature of his position. His pieces cannot move fluidly. And this position, the simple move is the move. Just, brute force him. And the brute force simple move, queen h2. How does he stop queen h7? The answer is he cannot stop it. That's the best part. That's why the white bar is past the middle of the rook. This is a great idea. Doesn't work. Now, if you would like to figure out for yourself, why does this move not solve his problems? Take 2 or 3 minutes. This is not an easy move, but it's a test. So look at this move not as a test of your absolute skill, but kind of ballpark. Maybe you see the idea, maybe you don't. And if you don't see it, you're going to see it now so that you'll see it in the future. What happens is I'm going to play a pawn sacrifice that is a clearance sacrifice of the diagonal for the bishop. The f4 square is where we need to clear. f5. So now he's facing bishop takes knight. So that's the move that kind of, you look at it on your eyeball. Here you go, knight h6. If he plays f5, I just take it. It's not a big deal. And then you're like, oh, crud. So he just had to jettison the knight, which is enough to win. That is enough. And he is just, this is not 100% terrible. He should have taken with the other pawn. It's bad and losing, but he has to take it with the G pawn, and you'll see why in a second. But the problem is if he takes with the G pawn, queen h7 gets him queen h7 check, followed by bishop h6, and we'll have 3 attackers on the bishop, and he only has 2. His king will be over there on f7 blocking the queen, so rook g8 won't help him at all. I mean, he's completely gone, but G takes is actually slightly less terrible. Now it's just basic stuff. Queen checks, and then, this is, basic stuff, but that's what I played, and he resigns. But this was a great example of using the outpost d6 square to launch an attack based on, I told you, those rooks are doing nothing. They haven't moved. After he castled, he never moved another rook. So he's playing without rooks. I played knight d6, which is the correct move. Yeah, I mean, the position, the computer is like, your white is killing him. Okay, so knight d6, absolutely killer move. Because the preponderance of men, every piece for white assists in some fashion on this kingside attack, which is just scoreboard. Okay, that is a scoreboard right there. So hopefully this kind of quickie positional lesson teaches you something about, black has developed his pieces, but they're not really developed in this particular instance. The knight on c5 was a great idea to get rid of the knight on d6. But the problem is the knight on d6 wasn't the killer by itself. The 2 rooks are just perfectly placed. So when I castled long with the intent of a kingside attack, the h1 rook is already developed when white castles long. I guess let's go back and look at this. Okay. This is the perfect kind of position that you would want to have in a blitz game, because this is it's not a book type position. This is a kind of oddball variation opening. He takes my white square bishop, so what? Who cares? It's who cares because the development is so bad for black. Now, the position is still closed. It's not devastating yet. I mean, white could play e6 followed by knight g5. That would be another great idea. I was just playing solid and quickly. So I'm playing solid and quickly. So good idea to stop the e6 sacrifice idea, because it really could inconvenience his position. But he'd gain the f6 square. So, but when I castled long, the rook on h1 is already developed. As you see, I'm threatening to play g4 at the drop of a hat, and I'm really threatening to play g4 if necessary. Queen e2 and knight h2 would also ensure that I will play g4. The problem with trading off those bishops is that now the light squares for black don't have any defenders. I mean, look at the computer. It already loves this position. So this is an example of where positional knowledge is winning for white, even though this is an even game. And it doesn't look terrible. It looks like he's surviving, and he's got a decent game. Play c5 maybe. But g4, uh-oh. Now the mistake would be to play g5. We're attacking. We'll sacrifice a pawn or two possibly to rip the position of the kingside open, because white's king, as you see on c1, is very safe. Black's king on h8 is just precariously placed for doom. He played c5, but you know what I did. That happened so fast because, look, when you see this, you should recognize this formation here allows knight b5, and then knight to d6, which is just a crushing position for a knight to get to if you can hold it. And in this case, it didn't have to hold it. It was allowed me to force the position. You know, knight c5 was a good move. And I see he's going to go to e4. He should have gone to e4 actually sooner. But that was his mistake for not doing it. And once I'm at d6, he's toast. Now he's toast. Now if I was a grandmaster like Hikaru, he probably would say, you know, he's done. Black is done at this position because he's done so much studying and his tactical powers are just ridiculously good. He probably already sees sequences. I'm just a lowly master, and he is one of the top grandmasters in the world. He is thinking this is already meat. This is a dinner. He's eating dinner already. And well, based on the computer's evaluation, he would say that I played pretty well. You know, so this is the thing. This was a positionally winning game for white way back. Okay, you got to be careful. Look at this. This is nasty. This is the kind of thing that happens when you evade book positions early on like I did. So this is a test of your chess skill. In this case, the positional knowledge for black was wanting, and that's how I got him. I mean, I didn't really out-tactically, calculate him. My position was positionally so strong, advantage early on, and I cashed it because I realized that this was going to yield a kingside attack. And it was a devastating kingside. And like I said, you have to know that when you get this kingside attack brewing, which we did here, the move is h4, not g5. We do not want to allow that knight to go to f5 and shore up his position. So the key part was h4. Because we're going to play h5, and then his only way to try and close the position would be to play g5. We'll just take that and push g6. We're going to hammer this guy. But if you don't play the right moves, if you play the robotic g5, I'm attacking the knight. You see this happen a lot. The robotic g5 does nothing. Makes his job easier. It still will be tough. But he's going to play knight f5, and it gives him some mobility for his pieces to clear defensive room on the second rank, possibly rook f7 and maybe bishop f8. So we wanted to keep his pieces hemmed in as much as possible positionally. And that's what the whole idea of h4, h5 does. He moves his knight. Remember, his rook's never moved. He castled, the rook's never moved. So he's playing this game 2 rooks down, essentially. So if necessary to attack, we could have even sacrificed a piece if that's what would have broken the position up to expose his king. Well, this was a really good positional lesson. Hopefully you enjoyed this, and I'll see you guys in the next one.